All right, I did say I was going to give the influencers a break, so I'm going to do that. Slow down a bit, let them take a breath, because they've been on their back on the mat for a long fucking time. So I'll show them a little mercy. Today's topic: apprenticeship. What you should do. How do you best serve yourself as an apprentice? Clearly, there's lots of different ways and means that states and provinces and countries sort of try to develop their apprenticeship program. But I get asked quite a bit where you should start. And my recommendation is that you should start in residential construction, new construction. And then once you're in that sort of world, you can spend a year or two learning about how plumbing systems work, right? What the purpose of venting is. See it in real life. Put it together in real life. Understand how water distribution works and why it's important to, why certain what's considered good plumbing practices are considered good plumbing practices. So you should absolutely. You'll also, learn sort of the intricacies of shower valves and, maybe do a couple of custom shower systems. Learn about why those rough-ins are important and how to make sure that you do that properly for drywall and tile, so everything looks good at the end. Look at and the difference between. I say to my kids, the boys, like there's a difference between rough-in muscles and finishing muscles. And if you're in that new construction world, then you understand that completely, because rough-in's far more brute force and, the big muscles, and finishing is far more the finer details of doing detailed work. And then this all is not what the employers want to hear, but I would recommend that you work for 2 or 3 different companies. If you spend a couple years in new construction, you should go work for a service company, whether that's residential or commercial, so that you can sort of get a feel of what it's like to be in the service industry. You can get into commercial construction, although I do find that that's pretty bland and boring, because you're dealing with sort of big lengths and properties, and so my experience is getting into the new construction world. You spend a lot of time drilling inserts and marking things out and running miles and miles and miles of pipe, and it's so big that it's hard to sort of, particularly when you're starting out, to sort of find your field of vision of how all that stuff works and goes together. And some of those systems, water distribution systems, pumping systems that are in new or in commercial buildings are pretty intense, and you probably won't get the chance to work on those much, just because it's not kindergarten plumbing, to coin a phrase. And then if you can get into it depends obviously where you live, but if you can get into some country stuff and learn how wells work and septics work, softeners, and that sort of thing, then you can sort of come out of your apprenticeship, which I tell everybody it should take you 5 to 6 years in Canada to finish your apprenticeship. Then you can come out sort of with a well-rounded base and understanding, even if it's like baseline of how plumbing systems work, and then you can sort of decide what you want to specialize in as sort of your next. Once you get your junior journeyman, which is what a ticketed plumber is, and you will be a junior journeyman for, I think, 5 years before you become, a journeyman, and then that journey is another 5 years till you become what would be considered a master of what you're doing. So that journey from starting your apprenticeship to master plumber is anywhere between 15 and 18 years. And that does seem like people are like, that's crazy. I'm like, it's not. Plumbing is an incredibly extensive and detailed environment, and there's so many different paths that you can take. And I mean, Instagram is the perfect example of that, of where and what you do. Here in Alberta, I've worked on 4 or 5 oil systems in my whole life, and most plumbers don't even see those and know what those are, because everything here is natural gas. And we here at Baker do deal with some big boiler systems and maintain those, and that's a nuanced field all by itself. You can't, I mean, that isn't kindergarten plumbing. If you draw outside the lines on a 2 million BTU boiler, you're going to kill somebody, frankly. So yeah, I mean, just sort of in synopsis, new housing is a super good base. You should work for 2 or 3 different companies, just to sort of find out what you like, what your aptitudes are, what your personality is sort of adjusted to. And then once you get into that, you can certainly drill down into that and find out if you really like it. It's related. My oldest daughter is a dental hygienist, and she went for the 2-year program, and then worked for a dental company, and then found out that she really liked to do the cleaning and the orthodontic side of stuff. So she went back to SAIT and took their I forget what they're called, certificates. And so she got 4 or 5 certificates that allowed her to do even more detailed work in sort of orthodontics and cleaning. And she makes just under what a full-fledged hygienist would make, because she sort of specialized in that. And I think you can do the same thing in the plumbing field. I think it's like there's so many different things to do, and if you follow anybody's pages, you'll be like, oh, I've never seen that, or that's something weird, or that's something new, beyond the pressing of fittings and the installation of toilets and hot water tanks. And hydronics is certainly going to be a field that's going to be explored extensively over the next 20 years as new technologies come on board. And of course, these green technologies are coming, whether we like it or not. Governments are forcing manufacturers to create these products, and so you're going to have to know how to service them. I was talking to a dude out in Vancouver that's got a hybrid system of a diesel engine with a sort of a green system. I don't even know what it was. Just some sort of compressor. I don't know, a refrigeration system. Anyway, there's just going to be so much coming down the pipe from a technology standpoint, that one of my complaints about the industry is they're like, well, we'll just send the low achieving students into blue collar trades, which has always sort of been the way it's been. And we're going to need some of the best and brightest to run some of this technology that's coming. And that's, I've used to pour joints and throw around lead pipe, cast iron pipe, which I don't do anymore. We're literally working on, you've seen some of the wiring systems of Tecmar and the boilers that you and I work on. It's intense, and will only continue to become more intense as these things become more and more digital. And you're going to need more and more tools, both hands-on tools and tools up here, to sort of troubleshoot that stuff. So anyway, as usual, those are my crazy thoughts and not yours. I didn't even make fun of the influencers once. We'll try and give those guys a break for a few days, but if you're an apprentice, have some questions, by all means DM me. I'm happy to answer. But it's a wonderful opportunity to support yourself and your family away from the cameras.